Good morning, episode 2 of My Raw Thoughts podcast. So just jumping on for a quick one today. I've got about 10-15 minutes heading off to work, just speaking on gratitude. And the thing that's super important with gratitude is that our body can't be in a negative state and a positive state at the same time. I think you can't really feel love towards somebody and want to hit them in the head at the same time. And the same token is whenever our nervous system is in the sympathetic or parasympathetic, if it's in the fight or flight or the rest and digest system, it's two different states and experiences. So when we go through life, we're going to have challenges, we're going to have tribulations, as well as many beautiful times. And for us to be able to be grateful for everything is, I think it's pretty critical or essential to a life well lived, because even myself over the past month particularly, but even just the past week, been pulling anywhere from 9 to 12 hour days. And in that, I've had very little time to do many of the things that I want to, and including this. I'm doing this when I've got about 14 minutes left to go. So, it's just doing what we can with what we have is the biggest thing. And when it comes to our past and our stories, I find that's where most of us find challenge, or where we're plagued. When this thing happened at this age that led us to having these experiences with ourselves or with another person, or having particular triggers, and then today we show up in a particular way from something that roots back to time when we were 15, 10, 12, 5, 3. And it's in that we can find gratitude in the challenge and in the learning as well, because whenever we go through really difficult things in life, even if we don't understand it and we have no way to integrate it now, because there's 3 steps of learning. You know something, and then you understand something, and then you embody something. And when you embody something, it sort of goes out of your head and into just a simple action. And that's where you get simple sayings in life that people kind of live by. And so with that, I think it's just really taking some time to drop in now. Whatever practice is that works for you is whatever works for you. For me, it's one thing that really hit home before was I was listening to James Clear. So I really recommend listening to Joe Dispenza. He's absolutely phenomenal. He goes way deep down the rabbit hole and a bit down the woo-woo rabbit hole when it comes to gratitude. And I don't know if I will have time to touch on any of that. But James Clear is an amazing speaker as well. And the thing is that I've had a bit of a mental blank, to be honest. So he was speaking about how when, I forget what it was that how would you say, triggered the thought within me, but I just sort of took a moment to realise that where I am now is where a past or prior version of myself dreamed of being. I'm living my dream life from a former self, and that alone was something that just really dropped me into this moment, into this experience, and into gratitude and just total acceptance, because we're always sort of looking for the future moment. We're always looking for where we want to go, where we want to get to, the next thing on the horizon, because as to a degree you could say that we're sort of seeking or hunting creatures. Now naturally every creature sort of moves towards something that it wants and desires, but humans very much so. And it's in that a lot of us, and even myself at times, or many times, will kind of lose that relationship with ourselves, because that's when we go from being, it's when one practice that I've done is staring in a mirror, and you hold eye contact with yourself in a mirror for I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes, and there's a moment there where you start to see, it's almost like you're looking at a separate self in the mirror. It's pretty trippy. And what it is that we live our reality from this. What that means, it's like a vector. We live our reality from our eyes and then our minds. So everything's going from here and out there. and that's our reality. But then we don't actually see the world from the rest of us. Like, the world is a different, and this again might sound silly, but like the world is a very different place when you're thinking about our feet. World is a very different place when you're thinking about our hands. World is a very different place when you're thinking about any other part of your body apart from your eyes and your brain. So then in that, like, there's another thing that Andrew Huberman speaks about with dopamine, and I think that this is like very critical for gratitude, because it's like, or very helpful rather. So it's a bit of a separate thing, but basically I made some massive adjustments with myself over the past month, and like a big part of it that's flipped is that like I've sort of gone from not really being on the path to where I want to go and what I need and the things that'll take me there, to being on the path. And so Andrew Huberman speaks about there's norepinephrine in your brain, which gives you the stress and agitation to go, screw it, I'm going to make a start. And then there's the dopamine, which overrides the limitation that comes from that. So if you're going for a run and then you get to a point where your brain eventually says, you know what, I've had enough, there's norepinephrine building up. And then when you have dopamine, that's like getting past milestones or having certain games or challenges where you're kind of like ticking things off as you go along, is you get this boost of dopamine which overrides the agitation and gives you kind of more gas in the fuel tank. You can tell I've been listening to Americans, more fuel in the fuel tank. So like, that's when you see like people at the end of a championship game where they've been slogging it out for like a couple of hours straight, and then they get that final goal or touchdown and everyone's just elated with energy and emotion. They, yeah! And like, that's because it's a neurochemical thing over a physical thing. Like, your muscles and everything have certain tolerances and thresholds and can do so much, but when you have everything's controlled by your mind, it's like the whole David Goggins thing. So back to what I was speaking about is when you know that you're on the path to like what you want and need in life, and you have a system that's integrated. So what I've done is basically like built myself a bit of a workbook, and that's down to like, you know, basically how I've been working with myself recently is to follow like this system. And it's basically like you look at each areas of life. So you got physical health, mental health, well, that's mental / emotional. You got like your fun, your finances, your career, your relationships, your romance, your time and presence. There's 2 more. Your personal development, and then I'm not sure if career and purpose were the same, I forget, but anyways, like when you're doing things to tick off many of those areas at least weekly, but like ideally daily, then that's basically giving your system what it needs to be happy and healthy, so that then you can focus on moving forward towards the thing that you know, so choose to do. So that like when we take care of ourselves first and our systems and what we need, and then we're taking action towards where we want to go, and we're on a path, and it's like, even if we don't know what we need to know and what we need to do, then at least we can find somebody that does know that can teach us. There's always a way to get there. So then once you're doing that, then you can just relax, because you're like, okay, I just need to learn these things and do these things, and you know, you're on your way. And it's in that you can really relax and be grateful, but also grateful for the challenge, because it's never easy. Like, it doesn't get easier as you do better. Things get harder as you do better, because you have to do things faster, and you have to do things with less error. I mean, that's definitely 2 big components of it. So like, it gets more difficult. The challenge definitely becomes higher, as Alex Hormozy says, like, you know, the woman in the red dress, like, as you get better and better, it's the woman in the red dress becomes more attractive. It's the metaphor from the Matrix, basically. Like, Neo's walking along with Morpheus, there's a woman in a red dress, really attractive, she looks at him, they walk past, he turns around, it's an agent, bang, shoots him in the head. And that's basically like when you have a distraction and then you turn to chase the distraction, takes you off your path, game over, you just lost. So then that's about like, how can you focus on the path? How can you keep locked in, no matter when there's like your friends are going out partying and drinking and getting on the sauce, and when you've got, well, I mean, the big thing is friends, right? But it's like when it's like FOMO, fear of missing out, like what could you be doing? You could be going out motorbike riding or fishing or partying or like you name it. You could go out and be spending your money on any sort of expedient things instead of investing it. Like it goes on and on and on. But I think just the biggest thing is like gratitude is basically like when you're on the path of where you want to go, and then you're just taking the right and you're embodying the right practices and growing. And I think the last thing is like it's being the victor and not the victim. And I mean, maybe it would have been a good thing to start with, right? But like at the end of the day, we can all choose whether we take responsibility and accountability for a certain situation going a particular way, or we can choose to shun and blame and lay the problem or the fault at the feet of somebody else. And what I mean by that is like, you know, pretend that we've done something to help somebody or been patient, or like any number of circumstances. There's always something which we've done to at least, if not perpetuate the situation, for us to be affected by the situation. So like what we could have done is either like not go there or speak up or like leave or any number of things. But it's like in that is where we have the power to take control and choose. And even if it's something that we messed up with in the past, is like next time it happens we can be like, okay, well this happened, next time I'm going to respect myself and do these things. And even just once you recognize and realize that, like that alone, I've found every time I've got to that point and I've gone like, okay, next time this happens, this is what I'm doing, because I love myself and I want good things for myself. And I just feel more and more grateful, especially over time, when I don't burn my energy doing shit things. So yeah, it's just a matter of just getting clear on what you need, what you want, and having some good practices for it. It can be a gratitude journal. It can be going for a walk, looking at the trees, looking at the skies, looking at the sun. It can be taking a moment in any situation to just drop into the feeling of your breath, your five senses, right? Your touch, your smell, your sound, your sight, and your seeing. Like there's all of that. You can meditate and really drop into the feelings within your system. It's, as my friend and I spoke about, and it'd take me a while to try and unpack the way he explained it, but it's like the crucifix religion, right? And the way that he said it made me think of this is basically like the horizontal is like, imagine like a timeline of like from birth to death, or at least even from birth to now, but I think birth to death works better. Say hypothetically you're going to live for 80 years, 90 years. So at some point on that horizontal is where you are. It might be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, you name it, right? So that's the horizontal that goes along, and then the vertical is how fully you drop into this moment. Because think about it metaphorically, how many people absolutely zoom through their life on the horizontal and never really take time to fully drop into the vertical, like fully drop in to the moment and connect with themselves and the world and just take it all in, to stop chasing, you know, that thing, that woman in the red dress, like a little wind-up soldier just going dack, 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 all the way through life, trying to chase and achieve, just so desperate, so lacking. Like, you know, the most beautiful people that I've met are just so in the now. They're just so present and happy and content with themselves and with everyone there, that it's like that classic breath of fresh air, you know, someone that's just here for it. So, you know, how can you be here for it today? How can you be here for you? What things can you do? Like for me, it's like I didn't do well enough to have the time to do this podcast last night. So I was like, you know what? I'm still going to go to bed early, but I'm just going to get up, do my stuff, and then just jump on and do a quick episode in the morning. So I hope you guys all have a beautiful day. Much love. Wish yous really well. And I'll catch yous on the next one. Peace, guys.